So 6:30 Saturday morning, and that's our sunrise.
Had a glorious night with lovely weather, little tiny bit of rain but sunshine this morning. Woke up to the sun rising, clear sky. Had bacon and eggs for breakfast, and now we're off touring the Isle of Wight and then get round to the ferry at Fishbourne, I believe.
The modern Isle of Wight Festival has been an annual event since 2002. The original, now infamous festival was held between 1968 and 1970. It is believed the 1970 event attracted between 600 and 700,000 people, which is thought to be the biggest music festival audience ever, even larger than Woodstock. Let me put that in context. In the same year, Glastonbury Festival attracted 1,500. Today, it attracts 200,000 over the whole festival. The 1970 Isle of Wight Festival had a single crowd of well over 500,000. Many people opposed it at the time, but were not able to prevent it going ahead. The festival was the catalyst for regulation of such events. It was highly criticised because of the sheer number of people, poor organisation, and the trouble it attracted. In hindsight, given the scale of the event, it seems to have been relatively peaceful and is now regarded by many as the festival to have been at, dare I say, more so than Glastonbury. In its 3 short years, it hosted the likes of Jefferson Airplane, T-Rex, The Move, Joe Cocker, the Moody Blues, The Who, Bob Dylan, Chicago, The Doors, Miles Davis, Joni Mitchell, Jethro Tull, Sly and the Family Stone, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Free. The 1970 show was notable not only for the number of people, but as one of the last public performances by Jimi Hendrix before his death in September of that year. There is a statue of Hendrix outside Dimbola Lodge on the island, Talking of people numbers, a common misconception is that you can fit the entire population of the world onto the Isle of Wight. I've no idea where this notion came from, or why it should be of any use to know, but to make it happen, you'd have to squeeze 20 people into each square metre. It is, however, possible to fit the world's population into Great Britain, and to fit the entire population of Great Britain onto the Isle of Wight. But, contrary to another popular urban myth, the island would not sink.
So we're just coming into the village or town of Shanklin on the Isle of Wight. Very pretty.
Shanklin is the location where Charles Darwin wrote his Origin of Species during an 18-month-long visit to the town.
The Isle of Wight's position in the English Channel often made it one of the first places to be invaded. The Romans, Jutes, Saxons, Vikings and Normans have all subjugated the island at some point in history. The Isle of Wight suffered particularly from the Viking raids, as the Norsemen would often use the island as a base of operations if they couldn't make it to their cousins in Normandy. The island continued to see conflict from French raiders until it was fortified by King Henry VIII. If you've watched previous episodes, you will have seen and heard about various fortifications around the coast built to defend Great Britain from whatever threat prevailed at the time. The Palmerston forts, named after the Prime Minister Lord Palmerston, were predominantly built during the Victorian period as a response to a perceived threat of a French invasion. They became known as Palmerston's Follies, as by the time they were completed the threat, if it had ever existed, had passed, and technological advancements meant the guns were outdated. Even in today's terms, it is the most expensive ever government spending project. 19 such defences were built on the Isle of Wight alone. One of the last to be built was in 1906 here at Culver Battery.
Talking of invasions, in 1876 grey squirrels were introduced by the Victorians, who just loved discovering all sorts of plants and wildlife and bringing them back to Great Britain. The grey squirrel set about conquering the indigenous red squirrel and have been very effective. There are very few places in England where you can still see them, but the Isle of Wight is one such place. The island once had a sizable network of railways, notable for its punishing gradients and numerous tunnels, particularly to reach the town of Ventnor. Most of the rail network closed between 1956 and 1966 and is now a series of cycle paths. The odd-looking trains are in fact old London Underground rolling stock.
So we have some amazing boat houses along here. Incredible. And then this is Bembridge Harbour. Stunning.
During the English Civil War, King Charles I tried to flee to Jersey, but missed the boat. Thinking he would get a warm welcome, he went to the Isle of Wight instead. But unbeknown to him, the governor, Robert Hammond, had taken sides with Oliver Cromwell and imprisoned him in Carisbrooke Castle. Despite several attempts to escape, that included him getting stuck in a castle window, the king wouldn't see freedom again before his execution. Prior to his execution, he was taken across the water to Hurst Castle, which we told you about in the previous episode.
This is the marina at Dover, or Dover, not quite sure how to pronounce it. Very nice. We have a ferry to catch, so we're not going to sit down for a cup of tea.
Exactly why it's called the Isle of Wight is unknown. There are many stories about how it got its name, some of them plausible and some of them likely, and some of them just silly. Although plausible, it is not because of the white cliffs that surround the island and much of this part of the British coastline. There are two candidates for the most likely origin. The first possibility is that the Beaker people, named after their distinctive pottery, who arrived on the island in 1900 BC, called the island Wyth, which meant raised in their language, probably due to the island's appearance of sharply rising out of the sea. This, along with the Celtic word gwylf, meaning channel, combined to form an amalgamation of the two, the raised section of the channel. The island is located in the English Channel, between Britain and France, so this makes a lot of sense. The other explanation is that in 400 BC, Iron Age Celts gave the island its name Wight, which meant a place of division, because it is between the two outstretching arms of land that make up the Solent.
As we mentioned in the last episode, Queen Victoria loved the Isle of Wight and died at Osborne House on the 22nd of January 1901, aged 81. During her reign, the world's first radio station was set up by Marconi in 1897 at the Needles Battery. In 1898, the first paid telegram, called a Marconiogram at the time, was sent from this station, and the island is now the home of the National Wireless Museum near Ryde.
In August, the island hosts a large scooter rally, attracting up to 5,000 scooters to Sandown and Ryde.
That's your hovercrafts over there to Portsmouth. Yes, it is Portsmouth via hovercrafts.
Welcome to Whitelink. The captain of Victoria of Wight would like to draw your attention to this important safety announcement.
Thank you very much for your attention. We hope you enjoy the rest of the short crossing with us this afternoon. And we'll speak to you again closer to Portsmouth.
And those are car alarms that you can hear. We spent less than 24 hours on the Isle of Wight. It was our second visit here in recent years and we really like the place. There's lots to see and do. It might not be abroad, but you know you're not on the mainland. We hope you're enjoying our coast adventure. Please let us know what you think in the comments down below. We would also really appreciate it if you gave the thumbs up button a click if you like this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please click the subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. There's absolutely no fee involved and you can unsubscribe at any time. Join us next Friday as we continue our coast adventure. Thanks for watching.